us through some thoughts and questions that we have prepared for him.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to start off, I know you just got off the road. We're going to start off by going deep. We're going to do a fly route.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Ed, you're known for a lot of things. Football player, dad, coach, husband, business owner, philanthropist, and most of us know you as the Denver Bronco wide receiver. But what do you want to be known for?
Oh man, maybe a man of faith, a man of integrity, a great husband, father, all-around great guy, and maybe even a snazzy dresser. I spoke to a group. By the way, I just got back from my son's wedding in South Carolina. My oldest son, Max, got married. We had a great week. He was in South Carolina. His now wife, Kathleen, is from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. My third son, Dylan, works down there. And so if you ever want to go red fishing in South Carolina, look for Dylan McCaffrey outside. But I had spoken to a group a few months ago. When I got down there, Dylan says, hey, wouldn't you know, there were some people from the group that you spoke to that took a fishing trip, and we went out and caught a couple of fish. But I asked them, what did my dad talk about? Was it good? Was he impressive? And they said, I don't know. All I remember is he wore that funky orange jacket. So I'm thinking there's at least one thing you'll remember from tonight, and it's this orange jacket. And I did play for the Broncos for 9 years, won a couple Super Bowls. So these are my team colors.
I love the jacket as well. You mentioned a couple things there, faith and family. How did the values of faith and family really shape your journey early on?
Yeah, well, my faith means everything to me. It really has given me strength throughout my entire lifetime. I was raised by parents who really believed in the values that we learn in the Bible and the values we learn through following the words of Jesus. And so we were raised in a very, I would say, religious household. But there's times in all of our lives where we have wonderful friends and family around us, and there's times in our lives where we feel like there's no one in the world around us. And so I think in those tough moments, we have to stand for something. We have to believe in something. And for me, my faith has given me strength in times of need, and I try never to take the wonderful things I have in this world for granted. The beauty of Colorado, friends and family, all the good things that happen in my life. I'm so thankful for everything that I've ever been given and everything that I have, and I try to repay that. I know we're about giving and giving back to our communities and giving back to others. I try to remain very thankful, have gratitude, and but really rely on my faith throughout the good times and the bad times. There were times in my life where I broke my leg on Monday Night Football, and my career was over. There were times in my life, before I met my wonderful wife, Lisa, maybe you don't have anyone in your life to share it with, and you feel lonely. Times when you drop the ball, right? There's all kinds of times in life that are difficult to get through, and there's also times where maybe people doubt you, or you feel like no one else is believing in you, and the only person that you have, or the only thing that you have is your faith to rely on and lean on. And so for me, it's really been the motivating factor throughout my entire career. I believe that we've all been given these gifts in life, and everyone here is different. There's not one person in here that has all the exact same qualities and gifts in their lives, physically, mentally, emotionally, you name it. We all have the ability to do something, to do it well, and to be the best that we can be. So my whole life I felt like I owed it to the Lord to be the best that I could be, whatever it is that I chose to do. And so when it came to football, I know when I'm giving my best effort. I know when I'm doing everything I can to be my best. And then when and if eventually I fail, no matter what happens, I know I did everything I possibly could, even if I failed in my mission. And some people may doubt that, but as long as somebody knows, and I know, that's enough for me. So it gives me strength in times of need, and it definitely keeps me very thankful and gracious when things are going well.
Yeah, and there are 3 times watching sport events that I cried. The last time was when the Nuggets won the championship. The first time was this one's for John. And then the other time was when you broke your leg on Monday Night Football. You were my favorite player growing up.
Thank you.
So you have a few different nicknames according to Google. You have Eddie Mac, Easy Ed, and White Lightning, as if lightning could be any other color. Which nickname is your favorite, and what's the story behind it?
Well, John Elway calls me Eddie Mac. Maybe you'll remember that in addition to the orange jacket, but his nickname for me is just Eddie Mac. He says it as soon as he sees me, as soon as I walk in the room, Eddie Mac. That's how we start our conversations. But Easy Ed, I think it was Easy Ed Pinckney, like I went to high school in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Easy Ed Pinckney was a basketball player for Villanova, so I used to associate it with that. White Lightning, no one really calls me White Lightning. They made a really cool poster of me when I was playing, and it was cool. There was lightning bolts and I was running through them. Pretty cool poster, but no one really calls me that. But you know, for me, a lot of people who don't even know anything about football would call me just Easy. Hey, what's up, Easy? And I think it's probably because I'm pretty easy to get along with. I get along with almost everybody. I can just hang with any kind of a group. I can just be there to take up space, speak when spoken to, join in the conversation, just enjoy people's company. I don't need to be entertained. Just a pretty easygoing guy. So that's probably one that I feel is appropriate.
So Ed, let's talk a little bit about your NFL career. You're widely regarded as one of the best blocking wide receivers in NFL history. I want to ask, why was mastering the art of blocking so important for you, and how did it define your role on the field? In a position that everyone's a diva, everyone wants to catch passes, why was blocking so important to you?
Well, it probably had a lot to do with a lot of reasons. One, you know, my parents were pretty strict, and they really believed also that you should do everything you can to help your team. They were believers in team and being a good teammate and being a hard worker. Grew up with a blue-collar family in Pennsylvania. We were down the street from the steel mills at Bethlehem Steel and Mack Truck. It was that kind of mentality, Pennsylvania football. That's something that was really valued. Unselfishness, teamwork, doing the hard work, things that no one else wants to do, and being a football player. And I used to tell my kids that when people ask me what you do, just tell them you're a football player. And they'd get mad at it. I don't know, what position do you play? Well, I'm just a football player. I play all the positions. No, really, what position? I'm like, well, they weren't lying. They were a kickoff returner. They ran down. They were a punt returner. They played running back. They played cornerback. They played a lot of different positions. And my oldest son, Max, played DB one year. His whole junior year, he ended up being a receiver in college. And the reason is, look, you're there to help the team. Football is the greatest team sport in the world. It really is. You're dealing with people from all walks of life. You got 350 pounders, you got 150 pounders, you got fast guys, slow guys, with all different skill sets, different positions, offense, defense, special teams. It's the most strategic sport in the world. The most moving parts, the most people, most different job assignments. You stop in between each play and regroup. And so, for me, I wanted to be a great teammate. I wanted to do whatever I could to help the team, whether that's running down on kickoff coverage and busting up the wedge, which they used to be able to form back in the day, or whether that was playing special teams or playing offense. My good friend Rod Smith, you guys know Rod Smith, he's a Ring of Famer. All the Broncos fans know Rod. We kind of came up together. So Rod was on the practice squad, and I just left the 49ers. I got cut by the Giants, played on the 49ers. Luckily, we won a Super Bowl. That was pretty fun. And then Mike Shanahan brought about 6 of us from the 49ers to the Denver Broncos because he saw how hard we worked in practice. Because I was backing up Jerry Rice. I didn't get a ton of reps in the games, but luckily he noticed how hard I was working and the things I was doing in practice. But we had a couple of first-round draft picks ahead of us. So undrafted guy that was a third-round pick and cut, who's now a free agent who signed with the Broncos, and 2 guys that were super highly regarded first-round draft picks that were ahead of us. And so we didn't get on the field in the beginning. We were backups. And Rod and I thought, like, how do we have fun? We're never getting any passes thrown our way. How do we have fun and still bring value to our team? So we thought, you know what? Let's have a couple side bets going on. Let's bet $5 or $10 who can have the most decleaters. So those of you who know about football, decleaters, when you decleat, so someone has cleats, right? You're playing football, and you knock them out of their cleats, or you knock them onto the ground. So we're like, okay, we're just going to see who can knock the most people on the ground in these games. And that's not what most receivers think, right? Most receivers think these shoulders were built for these fancy suits, not for shoulder pads. They don't want to block anybody. And by the way, I can tell. So football's something I know a lot about. and I can tell when a receiver tries just hard enough to not make the block. They ran full speed. They looked like he was trying. No, he wasn't. He didn't want to make the block. He could have made it. He didn't want to. He fooled you because you thought he was trying hard, but he wasn't. He was a wuss. Or, as they say in the hockey world, a snowflake or a pigeon. I learned that because my son married into a hockey family, so now I'm picking up on all these hockey terms. But the point is, there's a lot of receivers who aren't quite willing to do that. So even if they're physically gifted, and even if they have the technique, and they could do it if they wanted to, they don't have the will to win or the will to do it, and they don't. And so Rod and I, we'd usually get 3 or 4 decleaters in a football game. That's a lot from a receiver. And we always looked at it like, your run game is determined by the wide receivers. No one says that, right? Who says, oh, the receivers are in charge of the run game? The reason we believe that is that the offensive line has to block. That's literally what they're paid to do. That's your job to block. Tight ends or kind of hybrid running backs, fullbacks, you have to block. There's a lot of prima donna receivers that don't think they have to block. We run routes, we catch touchdowns, you need us. If we miss the block, don't ask me to block. Rod and I were the exact opposite. We believed, we want Terrell Davis to score touchdowns. We want to win games. One of my favorite visions throughout my career was watching Terrell Davis run right past me. Why? Because I'm not looking back at him. I'm looking at the guy I'm trying to block so that he can score. Rod did the same thing. And so, it was a beautiful moment, right? We get to do the Mile High Salute in the end zone after he scores. And so we would just work our tails off to block in the run game. And it made a difference with our team, but it also got us noticed. So those 2 first-round draft picks were not the guys that started in the Super Bowl. How did Rod, this undrafted guy, and I end up being the starters for back-to-back Super Bowl championships? It's because we were willing to do anything and everything we could to help our team. And that included blocking in the run game. And just so you know, sometimes you have to block a super quick 4-2 guy. I'm 6'5", now I'm 239, but I played at 225, right? So I was this size, 225, way better shape, fitted my jacket better. But those quick guys are quick, right? They're not gonna try to take you on, they're gonna try to make you miss, so they'll run kind of slow and then they'll speed up, or they'll run and cut one way or try to juke and jive you, so you gotta look at their waist, there's technique involved, right? But then you have the Steve Atwaters of the world. These dudes are 235, 6'3 and a half, 235, bench press 500 pounds. They could knock your head off. So you have to block these little dudes, then these big safeties. And sometimes they have a 10-yard head start, right? It's easy to dance around with the little guys. Wait till Steve Atwater's coming downhill with a 10-yard head start. What are you gonna do? Even a guy my size, I'm that's gonna hurt. Right? But you know what? That's what I get paid to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So you get in there, you get there in time, you try to square up the best you can, and you get ready to take a hit. But if he's busy hitting you, what isn't he busy doing? Tackling Terrell Davis, right? He was on our team. I'm just using him because he was the most intimidating free safety I've ever seen, Steve Atwater. Or strong safety, you can play either one. But the point is, it takes physical ability, it takes mastering the technique, because you really do have to have a lot of good technique to be able to block all different kinds of body types. Sometimes it's a DN, you're chipping them, sometimes it's a linebacker. But more than anything, it's the will to win, and it's a selflessness that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help my team. And honestly, it's gotten worse and worse over the years. There's less and less receivers willing to do it. If you play in the West Coast offense or the Mike Shanahan tree, and by the way, that was something that was required of our coach. I saw players get cut and demoted because they didn't block in the run game, because they didn't follow the rules that he's established in practice. But if you go to the 49ers, their receivers have to block. If you go to the Green Bay Packers, their receivers are asked to block. If you go to the LA Rams, these are all guys that coach under Mike Shanahan. By the way, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. If you guys have a vote, if there's someone here with a vote, will you please do me a favor and get him in the Hall of Fame? He's the last back-to-back Super Bowl champion coach that's not in the Hall of Fame. He will be. I'm tired of waiting. I want to celebrate with him and go to camp.
Yeah, let's get him in. I want to talk about one block specifically. It's maybe the most vicious block in Super Bowl history. Super Bowl 32. Brian Williams, you decleat him in the Super Bowl. It's one of the most memorable moments of your career. Take us back to that play and what happened. I believe Howard Griffith is running the ball, and you decleat Brian Williams there. Take us back. What's going through your mind, and how did that impact the game?
Well, it was actually a pass play. It was a play action pass play. So a play action pass play, you fake a run, or at least show run action. And then usually you roll around. It's called a boot or bootleg if you want. We would call him quarterback keeper. That was our terminology. But fake a run to the right. And so John Elway faked a run to the right. He rolled out to the left, and he had to pull up before he got hit. And Howard Griffith faked a block and slipped out into the flat. I was running the route, so I am an option on that route, but Howard Griffith was wide open, so John just dumped it to him. I saw that I wasn't getting the ball, so a lot of receivers would say that's the end of the play. I didn't get the ball. Hands up, don't get a penalty. But I'm thinking, I want Howard to score. That's my friend. He's my friend and my teammate, and we're in the Super Bowl right now, so I'm going to do whatever I can to help him get in the end zone. But you have to do it correctly, right? Because even though you were allowed to do a peel back block back then, now it's a 15-yard penalty. You were allowed to do a peel back block, but you weren't allowed to clip. So my biggest concern on that play, because I have them dead to rights, and Brian Williams from Everything I Hear is a great guy, and he didn't see it coming, so I had a little bit of an advantage. He never saw me. So it's easy to decleat someone when they don't know that you're going to hit them. But my main, in a split second, in real time, I wanted to make sure I didn't clip him, which means you need to hit the front of his shoulder pad. Because if you hit him in the back, that's a penalty, and that's not good. And I'm probably getting yelled at on the sideline. So, physically, you try to time it up perfectly where you get just enough in front of him where you hit him on his front side of his shoulder and don't get a clipping call or a block in the back. And so I will say, if peel back blocks were still allowed, that is the teach tape for it. Because I hit him perfectly and he landed on his back. Now I did have something to say after. That would have been another 15-yard penalty today. So in today's game, that would be 30 yards of penalties. But now we're celebrating, right? We can't go back and change the rules.
The finger point after the block is the most epic part of that Super Bowl. So I want to zoom out just a little bit. You played with some legends, John Elway, Steve Young. How did those relationships with those guys shape your approach to the game, particularly in terms of things like teamwork and preparation?
Yeah, the quarterback's the most important position on the field. They are, and they get paid that way, right? You see how much these guys are getting paid? It's because they have to be a coach on the field. So number one, a lot of incredibly talented athletes in every sport cannot throw a ball. I've seen them. I've seen basketball players try to throw a baseball. I've seen other players in football try to throw a football. Some are okay, like just throwing it back and forth, but hardly anyone except NFL quarterbacks can throw a ball like an NFL quarterback. These guys not only are physically gifted, but they developed a skill, most of them since the time they were born. They either had a dad that was a quarterback coach, or nowadays you play 7-on-7 at like 6 years old. So these guys have been throwing their whole lives. You can't just all of a sudden, like now, say I'm going to be an NFL quarterback and try practicing. These guys have been doing it their whole entire life. So one, they have the skill to do it, which very few people have. Two, they've honed that skill their whole entire lifetime. So that position, in addition to being a player and having a unique skill set that other people don't have, they call every play in the huddle, right? They're in charge. They're the coach on the field. So they're a leader whether they want to be or not. Most of them are naturally leaders because they've been in that position a long time. But they're a leader whether they want to be or not. In the case of Steve Young, who I was blessed to play with, and we won a Super Bowl back in 1994, beat the Chargers. And John, we beat Green Bay and Atlanta back-to-back. The two things that I would say those Hall of Fame quarterbacks have in common, because physically they were different. Steve was shorter, super quick. He was left-handed, right? John's right-handed, big, strong, cannon for an arm. They had different skill sets. Steve got away with more touch. John could just make any throw on the field. He could wait till you got open and then throw it. That's how strong his arm was. I've never played with anyone like that other than John. And so physically they were a little different. Their game was a little different, but they were both incredible leaders, and they both had, although they had a different personality, they had this aura about them. And I don't know how you even define it. With Steve Young, and you think about his whole life, he was the best quarterback on every team he ever played for. And if you remember, he had signed with the LA Express, and he got paid like the most money ever for the LA Express, but it wasn't the NFL. And then he signed with the 49ers, and who does he get to back up? Joe Montana. So you found a way to find the best quarterback who has to back up that happened to be the guy that was regarded as the most accomplished quarterback of all time. Joe Montana was a pretty good quarterback, right? So he was his backup. Then finally Joe leaves. And so you have the most talented guy on your team who's also the most motivated. And I think so the most important position on the team has the most talented player on the team who's the most motivated on the team. And when I say most motivated, he wasn't more motivated than I was, because I wanted to win too, and I did everything I could. And we had a lot of players like that. Jerry Rice was one of those guys, right? We had a lot of incredibly talented players. We had 14 Pro Bowlers on that team. Deion Sanders won Defensive Player of the Year. Steve Young won Offensive Player of the Year. We won by like 25 points in the Super Bowl. So we had lots of guys, but nobody wanted it more than the quarterback, and I think that's important. Most important position, best player, most motivated, and he had an intensity about him. Like he was almost fidgety, like he made me anxious sometimes. Like he wanted to win so bad. Enough was never enough, and sometimes it was like, oh, he's got to calm down a little bit. Like, he's a little hyper, which is opposite of my game's easy. I'm like, relax, like you're making me anxious. But he wanted to win that bad, and that's why when we won, he held the trophy over his head and he broke down in tears. Those were tears of like a lifelong journey. He'd been working his whole life to do that, and there's no guarantee you're going to do it. I don't care how talented you are. John was the same, and I'll say this regarding leadership. John Elway, I learned leadership from him, and I learned about how important it is to build strong relationships with people. One of the stories I have is like, I haven't noticed my fingers are kind of jacked up, and there was a time where he threw me a slant in practice, and I dropped it, and it like dislocated my finger. And he was already a Hall of Fame quarterback at the time, so I was a little scared. I just got there, and like, what if he does this to the head coach? Just looks at him. What do you think that means? Get rid of this guy, right? But he didn't do that. I went and got my finger taped up, and a couple plays later I came back in. He said, all right, Eddie. He didn't call me Eddie Mack that time. He's like, all right, Eddie, I'm coming right back to you. Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I dropped a pass. I don't know him that well yet. Now he's going to throw the ball. Now the pressure's really on. I better catch this one or I'm in big trouble. Luckily I caught it, but what it showed me is that in that moment, I wanted to run through a brick wall for the guy. Hey, you made a mistake, but I'm coming right back to you because I believe in you and I trust you. Right? And it wasn't just me. Like he would create those bonds with everyone on the team, with the offensive line, with the defense, with the receivers, the running backs. So we're at the point where we knew his history. He had been to 3 Super Bowls and lost, never won a Super Bowl. He was already going to be a Hall of Famer, but he still had that one goal that he was striving for. Like he'd worked his whole life to win a Super Bowl. And he's the type of guy that believes in you, is going to throw the ball right back to you after you drop the pass. So you're ready to run through a brick wall for him. And so I learned about building strong relationships. I learned about communication, the communication with individuals, but also as the quarterback, right? He's calling the plays in the huddle. He's calling the plays on the line. He's audibling. He's overcalling. He's making sure everyone on the field knows what they're doing. And I learned about perseverance. The guy played his whole career. He could have retired a couple of years before we won a Super Bowl, but he didn't. He kept going. You remember the helicopter spin, right? That was a guy that he would do anything. He'll run through the brick wall. He'll get hit by 3 people at the same time. He doesn't have to pass for 500 yards. I just want to win. What do we got to do to win? And I learned about perseverance. And then even though we had to talk him back into it, he came back and he did it again. Now at some point you got to retire. You went back to back, right? He had no cartilage in his knees. He could barely move. But I learned about perseverance. And so I think that's maybe an underrated quality. So many people go through life and eventually quit. Things get too hard and you quit. With John and with Steve, right? They were determined to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think they would have retired until they did. And they were good enough that luckily that happened and they both got to, at least John did, right off into the sunset after winning back-to-back Super Bowl championships. And it was the perfect ending to a perfect career, and a great teammate and a great leader.
So you just mentioned dislocating your finger and then taking it back up and going in a few reps later. Your work ethic is legendary, from Stanford to your 13-year NFL career. Can you share a little bit about how you developed that discipline and that work ethic?
Yeah, I guess early on, I give some credit to my parents for establishing that kind of work ethic. They grew up in a family where that was valued more than anything. Your attitude and your effort. You had to be a hard worker at the very least. You don't have to be the most talented, but if you're going to be part of something, you're going to be part of something, and you're going to give it everything you have. It's kind of how I was raised. I remember one time I was playing in a youth league basketball game, and I was probably 8 or 9, I don't know how old I was, but I fouled out of the game. And so I'm thinking I'm out of the game. So I walked over to the corner and started playing some other game with my other friend who happened to be in the gym. And I remember getting dragged by my ear, back to the bench and like, hey, this is your team. You stay here for your team. You cheer them on, you do whatever you can for your team. You're part of a team. This isn't about you. You don't go sneaking off and playing games on the sideline. But that's just one story. But when we signed up to be part of the team, we were expected to give everything we had to that team. Now, we didn't have to play a sport. We didn't have to do any of those things. We either had to play a sport or be in an activity or get a job. We weren't allowed to sit around playing video games. But once we signed up for that season, we were expected to give everything we had to that sport. But I also attribute a lot of it to my faith. Like, I really did believe it. I believe because it's sinful not to give everything you have to something you commit to. I just believe that. I mean, and I do believe that if you have talents and you don't use them, you'll lose them. Like, that's true. And we all have talents and we all have skills. And that doesn't mean you have to be great at everything, and that doesn't mean you have to compete in everything. It just means when you have committed to something and other people depend on you, it's not about you at that point. It's about everybody. It's about the team. So that's why anything that I really believed in, everything that I committed to, I tried to hold up my end of the bargain. The thing I respected the most as a professional football player was the respect and admiration of my teammates. And I know you shouldn't always care about what other people think. You should have a strong confidence and strong enough belief in yourself and strong enough faith to know that even when people don't believe in you, you can believe in yourself. That's important. But for me, I did want that. I did want my head coach to stop the film in a game and rewind it back and show me depleting someone 30 yards away from the play, because my teammates would see that and maybe they would respect me. And no matter whether I performed well or not, they're like, I don't know if this guy is going to be good or not, but he's given everything he has. And to football players, it's about respect. When you hear them talk about respect, that's what it's about. Do you respect what I'm doing on the field? Do you respect the effort I'm giving? And then the greatest players have that kind of effort and also are really talented and can perform well. But at the very least, no matter how long my career lasted, I wanted my teammates and coaches to believe that we would take a whole team full of guys with that kind of work ethic.
So you talked a little bit about the way that you were raised. I want to talk a little bit about parenting. So you and your wife Lisa raised 4 sons, Max, Christian, Dylan, and Luke, all of whom have excelled in football. I want to ask, how did you balance being a supportive parent with the demands of your own career? And I want to ask, what values did you prioritize in their upbringing?
Yeah, we probably prioritize a lot of the same values that we had growing up. First and foremost, we want you to be a good person. Everybody knows what that is. Be a good person. Be good to people. Have empathy. Care about people. Be kind, right? And then it starts with that. Be someone of integrity, with morals and ethics. Live a good life. Be a good person. Try to make people around you better, and be kind. But after that, once you're committing to something, we do believe you have a lot of skills and abilities. If you're going to commit to it, be the best you can. Academics were important. If our kids didn't do well in school, they didn't play sports. A lot of people think we were the strict parents, but we really just loved our kids. And when you love your kids, they know it. And sometimes you love them by patting them on the back and complimenting them when they do well, and sometimes you love them by disciplining them. And I think some people forget that. It's not about being best friends with your kid when they're 8. It's about letting them know you love them and that you're proud of them and that you want them to chase their dreams, but you're going to take their phone away. My kids didn't have a phone, but they were probably 15 or 16. But you're going to take the phone away at night because you don't want them on the phone all night. That's not me being a mean parent. That's me being concerned about you and wanting you to get a good night's sleep so you're fresh for school and you can be the best person that you can be tomorrow for your team, for your classmates. And then, academics are important. You might not know it now. You can study whatever you want to study. Find something you're interested in. It could be the arts, it could be STEM, whatever it is. And pursue the things that you love in life. But when you pursue them, we expect you to do well because you have the ability to do well. So, for us, some people think we were strict, but 3.0 GPA or you don't play any football. So that was just our rule in our house. No phones at night. We tried to make sure they ate healthy and they took care of their bodies and they didn't do any dangerous things that were going to potentially injure themselves or somebody else. Just things like that. But, you try to lead by example, but, parenting's tough. Everybody's kids knows, man. It's like every child is different, every parent's different, every situation is different. There's not like a playbook or a blueprint for being the perfect parent. You do the best you can, and there's some obvious things you should bring to the table as a parent. But some of it, we just do the best we can, and sometimes we make mistakes. I was talking to my oldest son, Max, who got married, and I told him how thankful I was for him. He's the oldest of 4 sons. And I said, and you don't understand how much easier you made my job as a dad. Because there's no playbook and blueprint for being the oldest son, right? And as a parent, I probably made all my mistakes on Max. And I said, I gotta apologize for that. I was probably way too strict with you. I didn't know how to be a parent. I was never a parent before. I was doing the best I could. And he knows that I love him, and he knows that. But he set such a great example for his brothers. He included them in everything, especially Christian. Christian was 2 years younger than Max. He let him pal around with his buddies, play sports with them, participate in different events with them. There's a funny video of Christian running at Broncos Stadium playing the mascots, where they made him sign the football because T.O. did it, and the mascots wanted somebody to do it. He was 2 years younger. That was Max's team. They let him play against the mascots. Like, you can come up and play too. Have some fun. But it just, every time I see the video, I don't think about him signing the football in the end zone. I think about how cool it was that Max and all of his buddies included Christian in that halftime game. They didn't have to. It wasn't his team. But he set such a good example. He was a kind son. He cared about other people, incredibly hard worker, always inclusive of his brothers. And he did make my job a whole lot easier. I'm so thankful for him. So luckily, we had our oldest son who made my job easier and set the example for the rest of his brothers. And then they follow suit, because sometimes as a dad and as a coach of your own kids, you have to know when to take the coaching cap off and just be a dad. And so I walked a fine line with Max. I learned that over the years. You know, once you get in the car ride home, you can't be the coach in the car ride home, and the coach at the dinner table, and the coach before he goes to bed. He wants a dad, right? So I tried to be a coach when it was time to be a coach, and then be a dad when it was time to be a dad. In the beginning, though, with Max, sometimes I was a coach when I should have been a dad. But also, I learned to coach through other coaches. I'm like, okay, if I want to tell my son something, right? Because your kids, and especially a son playing football, getting coached by his dad that played football, they want to please you so bad. They just want you to be proud of them. And so sometimes, even if you have the most innocent, constructive criticism, they think you're disappointed. And it's just natural. They can't help it. You're their dad, and you're finding fault with something about them. Even if it's innocuous, and you're there to help them. And that's all we want, is to help them, right? As parents, all we want to do is help our kids to be in a better position. But I learned that sometimes it might be better for me to talk to our offensive coordinator or our quarterback's coach and say, well, why don't you give Max this tip during practice at some point. And wouldn't you know, when I was being a dad at the dinner table later in the day, Max would say, guess what Coach Terry taught me? And he was so proud and so happy that Coach Terry knew so much about football and taught him this particular thing. And I'm like, you keep listening to Coach Terry. It sounds like a pretty smart guy.
I love it. I love that you're bragging on your kids. I want to talk about, one, your son Christian is NFL superstar right now with the 49ers. What is it like watching him chase his own Super Bowl dreams, and how do you support him as a dad rather than a former player?
I don't think it changes. Like, when they're full-grown adults, and all my kids are full-grown adults now, I still see him as an 8-year-old running around the football field with pads that didn't fit right? They're still your kids, and now their friends are also NFL players. So it's a little weird in that regard, because I remember being a kid looking up to NFL players. Then I was an NFL player, and now my kids are NFL players, but they're still my kids, and so are the kids that they're playing against, were played against my kids when they were younger. So I look at the NFL differently, but I don't look at my kids any differently. We love them, we want the best for them. If we can help them, we try to help them and still be there for them, no matter what. They're adults now, so we watch all of the game film together, and if I do have something important to say, and they ask me, I require that they ask me. I don't volunteer information, because they're pros now too. I mean, Christian knows as much about the running back position as any person on the planet. So when he asks me for advice, I'm thinking, I better know what I'm talking about, because he's pretty good at the position. So I'll watch it like 5 times just to be ready to have the conversation, and then if he wants to have the conversation, I'll be ready with what to say and what not to say. Sometimes what not to say is just as important as what you say. But it hasn't changed that much. I'm so proud of them, and I want the best for them. Also we have 4 boys, and they all are involved. They were all involved with football for their whole lives. Now my son Dylan's a boat captain in Hilton Head, so So that's a little more lax. But my son Max coaches for the Dolphins, and Christian plays for the 49ers, and Luke plays for the Commanders. So when you have multiple kids that are doing multiple things, a lot of people say you're only as happy as your least happy kid, and sometimes that's true, right? So we'll go to a game and maybe Christian crushes it. And then we go to a game and the Commanders lost. So we were super happy. Now we're consoling our son whose team lost. And so as a parent, that's part of the deal. You're there for them when things are going great, celebrating with them, and you're happy for them, and then you're there for them when things are not going great. And then, Christian got injured and missed a lot of games. You got to be for him in those situations. It's the most depressing thing to be a football player and not get to play football and have to sit on the sidelines and rehab. And so, luckily, I went through it myself, and hopefully can lend them some good advice and help just as a dad help them get through the tough times. And then I'm so proud of them and get to celebrate like any parent when things go well.
So I'm a dad of 3 girls. What advice would you give to parents raising young athletes today?
Well, I can't give any advice to a parent of 3 girls because I have no daughters. Although I now have 2 daughter-in-laws, which I'm pretty excited about. And, Christian's wife, Olivia, is an influencer. You may have heard of her. She's former Mrs. Universe, and she's an influencer. And so I can barely get my social media apps to work on my phone. So there's not a lot I can lend helping her with anything other than, going on vacations and celebrating and having fun. And that's about it. But I would probably be intimidated by a daughter if I had one. I wouldn't know what to say. But as far as being a parent of an athlete, again, we can never forget, in my opinion, that you're more than anything, your children want to know that you love them and that you're proud of them, but also that you're there for them to mentor them as well. And that they might not always like what you're doing, but as long as they believe that your discipline is coming from the heart and you want the best for them, and they'll know the difference. I think in the long run, they'll be thankful for it. And so it's funny because Christian and Olivia are expecting their first baby next month. So I'm going to be a granddad for the first time in a couple weeks.
Wow.
I was excited as I am to be a granddad. I'm equally as excited about listening to them talk about parenting techniques. There's all these things that my kids made fun of me for. Oh, you took away our phones and you made us go to bed and yada, yada, yada. Now they're talking about it. I'm like, yes, all right. You didn't understand then, but you understand now.
You realize that your parents are right about most things as you start to have kids. And I want to switch the topic a little bit. We teach our kids so many lessons, but what's a lesson that your sons have taught you as a coach and as a person?
Oh man, that's a great one. What lessons have my sons taught me? That's interesting. Well, Christian taught me how you can identify the Mike linebacker when you're reading duo and wait for him to make a move first before you make a cut. So you set up your blocks properly. Duo wasn't a play I like to run a lot, other than in short yardage situations, but now I have a little key that tends to work. I don't know, what lessons have they taught me? I think probably empathy. I have empathy, of course, but, especially my son Max is a very caring and loving person. He's a hard worker, and I guess as a dad, of the 2 parents, I was the disciplinarian, and I just, you're so fearful sometimes that something's gonna happen to your kid, or they're gonna get in trouble, or they're gonna get hurt, or bad things are gonna happen. So as a dad, sometimes I was probably a little overly strict, and even as a dad watching them play sports, there was a time where I was too neurotic. I couldn't enjoy the game because I was too nervous and too into the game. Not in front of them, but even, watching with my wife Lisa up in the stands. And at one point she goes, look, I don't even want to watch the games with you anymore. You're not fun to watch the games with. And I realized I'm not just there for them. I'm there for my wife too. We're watching the game together. These are our kids. So I had to learn to relax, and so they helped me to relax as well. I remember one time they were playing a Little League game, and it was actually Max, and it was a soccer game. My wife played soccer, and they were playing on the soccer team, and he kicks this goal, and it goes right through the middle of the net to win the game with no time left. Right through it literally was like bend it like Beckham. it broke the net and went right through the middle of the net. I'm like, oh my gosh, you kicked it with like 2 seconds left to win the game. But the official, who was the dad on our team, thought it went over the net because it went to the other side. So he didn't see that it broke the net. So he said, no goal, we lose the game. And so my wife and I are upset. We're like, what the? Everyone saw that went right through the middle of the net. How could he not see that? And as we're talking and arguing about it, I look over at my son. He's already over at the play set playing on the jungle gym. And I'm like, he's not worried about it. Why am I worried about it? Like, he's a kid and he already turned the page. It's a soccer game. It's youth league. Yeah, it sucks. Who cares? We're off to something else. And so I realized maybe try to be in the moment. I also learned that you can kind of control your attitude a little bit. Like, people don't think you can control your attitude. You certainly can't control every emotion. Like, there's things that happen that are painful to us, that make us sad. And there's things that make us happy. Like, things happen in life that do that to us. But in general, day to day, we can control how we're going to react to those things. And over time, we can control whether we want to be happy or sad. That sounds crazy, right? You can decide, I'm going to be happy today. I'm not going to complain today. Try to go one day without complaining. I doubt anyone in this room could do it. One day, no complaints. But if you do it, try to go 2 days. And if you can make it to a week, you're one of the top 1% people in the world. If you make it a week without complaining, I promise you, you will feel so good about yourself. You will be happier just by not complaining, because words are powerful. When you say negative words and when you complain about things, it's bringing negativity. It's making you negative. So, I've learned from them about really caring about other people because I see them doing it, and also about how to relax a little bit and enjoy life. And when bad things happen, they're going to hurt you, but turn the page as quickly as you can, because if you're so worried about what happened to you in the past, you can't focus on the people around you now. Or if you're so anxious about what may happen in the future, you can't focus and give love and be happy around the people that you're around right now. So, carpe diem, I guess, is something that they taught me. So, and there's been tough times, right? We lose a Super Bowl. You know how hard that is when your kid who's played his whole life since he picked up football, and his whole goal in life was to win a Super Bowl, and they lose a Super Bowl, right? And it's devastating, right? But life, believe it or not, life's not only about football. It's about so many other things. And so, my role in those moments was to be there to console my son who was incredibly upset and to help him get through those moments and then go back to the jungle gym and start playing.
That's so good. And that's great perspective on parenting there. I want to transition a little bit. I want to talk about kind of post-NFL career. So after you retired, you didn't slow down. You launched McCaffrey brands with mustard and horseradish sauces, and recently introduced protein bites. We have a few of them to give away there in the back that you graciously brought for us. But what inspired you to enter the food industry, and how did we kind of talked about this theme of work ethic? How did that translate into entrepreneurship?
Oh, well, one of the reasons I think a lot of football players, not all of them, of course, but a lot of football players do so well in business is because they do learn about work ethic and teamwork. And I don't care what you're doing. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. If you are determined, you're a great teammate, and you're an incredibly hard worker, you can go far in life. And so I think those skills helped me translate that into a business. And, it started though, my friend Ty, who's from Pittsburgh, don't hold that against him, but he's from Pittsburgh, and he had done a lot of cereal boxes. So have you seen Flutie Flakes and Elway Crunch? And Josh Allen did one. Like, he's done them he's the #1 pro athlete celebrity cereal guy on the planet. Like, he's done more cereal boxes. But anyway, he came to me and I had Ed's Enzonos jumping through a Frosted Cheerios. Pretty cool. I put it right next to my White Lightning poster. But it lasted for 1 or 2 years, mainly because it was a very average cereal. It tasted very average. It was bottom shelf, brand X. In terms of the product, the graphic was super cool. But the cereal was just okay. So it was, in most of the cereals that he made were kind of like that, right? They raised some money for our foundations, and they sold because we were winning Super Bowls or playing in the NFL and doing well, and people liked them as a collectible. But he came to me after we had done Eddie's Enzonos, and we did Eddie Mac and Cheese, and we did some other stuff. He said, well, what food do you eat every day? I'm like, I'm playing football. I'm in the NFL. I'm not a food guy. I'm not a food business guy. I like these products, but this isn't my day job. And I'm like, I don't know, you know what I eat every day? It's mustard. I eat mustard every day. What's your favorite? Spicy brown. Why? Because I was neurotic about my weight. So I would count every gram of protein, carbohydrate, fat, how much liquids I drank. I would track everything and write it down in a book. And mustard doesn't have any fat in it. So why did I prefer mustard over mayonnaise? Well, there's no fat. It's super healthy. I didn't even know, but like things like turmeric are good for you, but it's mostly vinegar based. And it's a soup, it adds flavor. It's a very bland food. So if you've ever eaten just turkey sandwiches or non-fat chicken burgers, like all the things that I was eating that were super healthy with very low fat, because I tend to gain weight. Like I was 238 in high school, and now I was playing at 225, 222 to 225 to try to stay fast, right? So I wasn't a guy that had to work hard to gain weight. I could look at this glass of water and gain 2 pounds, right? So I had to eat super healthy. So I'm like, I put mustard on everything because it tastes good and it adds flavor to this bland food. So my role in the whole beginning stages of our business was to taste test like 100 and 150 different mixtures of ingredients until I picked the mustard that I liked the best. And I didn't make it easy on Ty, and partly because I was being stubborn. Nope, keep sending me more. And I just made him work with different manufacturers to send me different ingredient decks. And then finally, I had to look, this is the best spicy brown mustard I've ever tasted. I will put my name on this. Even though I think mustard is ridiculous. Why are we doing mustard? Like we did cereal and mac and cheese. Like mustard lasts 6 months in my refrigerator. What are we doing? But I'm like, it's raising money for the foundation and I eat it every day. I did not approve the graphics though. If any of you have seen it, it has my face on the front of the bottle, and we've had different mustards. Right now we have spicy brown, we have yellow, we're gonna come out with sriracha and the smoky horseradish, we have horseradish. But every bottle has, because my buddy worked for Newman's Zone, so Newman he had all the different costumes on for all his different salad dressings. And so he sent the graphics to Lisa, and Lisa picked them out. So there's one with me in a cowboy hat, there's one, all these different graphics, and I didn't see them until they hit the shelves. But anyway, so we started out with that, but the reason it sold for 25 years without me lifting a finger is because it's a phenomenal product. It tastes really good. People today that buy it didn't even know that I played for the Broncos. They just think it's a great mustard. And so that's kind of, as we grew our business, over the years, I just wanted to make sure I believed in the product. So when I tasted the horseradish product, same thing. If I really, really like it, I'll put my name on it. But I wasn't really looking to grow this business. It was just something fun that I did to raise money for our foundation. A couple years ago, I stopped coaching. My buddy Ty actually got sick, really sick. He's fine now, but he got sick and he had to kind of check out for a year until he got better. And I had a choice. I could either decide to save this business and then grow the business, or I can let it go away. I could do whatever I wanted to do, but I liked learning more about the business. So I met with all of our manufacturers, I met with all of our retailers, all of our distributors, and decided to save the business. And it was hard because I started a new LLC, McCaffrey Brands. We had to roll it over from another LLC. Anyone in the food products business knows now you got to fill out all 8 million pages online in every one of your retailers' systems, and then get new UPCs. Then you got to get them approved, and they only approve them twice a year. There was a lot of work that went into it, to the point where I'm like, this is a lot of work. Like, I'm good at tasting the mustard and telling them something like, I don't want to spend 8 hours a day filling out online forms. But you have to do it, right? That's the dirty work that you have to do. That's the work ethic. Like, you don't just all of a sudden sell stuff on shelves. You got to go through a lot of pain and agony to even have an opportunity to present your product to the retailers. But then I created a website, then I hired a website team, then a PR marketing team, then I hired an Amazon broker. Now we're hiring a food broker. Now we're not just in King Soopers, we're in Safeway and City Market. We're going to be in other retailers across the country. We launch on Amazon next week. So if you guys want to look for the mustard or the protein bites on Amazon, we will be on Amazon as of next week. That takes 45 to 60 days to even get on Amazon. And then you have to negotiate the contracts with the broker and all that other stuff. But we're incredibly proud about it. But what I love about it is that I stand behind the products. So we're trying to make condiments cool again, right? Never thought I would have said that. But, we're trying to look, I love food. My whole life is about football, family, and faith. Not necessarily in that order, faith, family, football, but also food. I love food, I always have. I have to watch how much of it I eat. When I do eat, I want to eat healthy food so I can eat good tasting healthy food, not put on a ton of weight and stay healthy. So naturally, our condiment lines are very healthy. And our healthy snacks we launched just in February before the Super Bowl. They're selling in Dick's Sporting Goods stores. We're in 200 Dick's Sporting Goods stores across the country. We're about to be in Shields, and they're about to put it in King Soopers, which is Kroger across the country. They have different names, and City Markets and Safeway. And now we're on Amazon. So we went from almost being out of business, I would say 7 months ago, to now going from almost being out of business to adding 5 more approved SKUs, because we're going to come out with a ketchup, we're going to come out with another brand of horseradish, and sriracha mustard's going to hit the shelves. And we had Kroger come to us and ask us for these, which is incredible, because they were about ready to push us off the shelves. Now they're asking us for 5 more SKUs just in the condiment line. And now we're also in the works to create different flavors of protein bites and granola and potentially cereal and oatmeal. And so like this business is growing like crazy to the point where we have to hire new people now to help grow the business. But this Amazon launch next week is huge. It's a huge part of our business. I don't want to call it the Super Bowl yet, but it's a playoff game for us. Like we need to do well next week to keep the business growing. But the thing I think I love the most about it is that I'm part of a team again, right? Like I have 3 people I deal with almost on a daily basis that just runs the website and the online orders from our website and the graphics. We're creating new websites to separate mustard from the healthy snack category. And so I work with them, but they have another 10 people behind them that is part of the team. Then I have the PR and marketing people that help me with the business, social media, and help me, get product to events. Like, went to a fishing championship tournament not too long ago. Caught my first sailfish. It was kind of cool. Handed out the product to them. Handed it out at my football camps, which I run every year. Handed it out to all different kinds of charitable events and other people's football camps. Josh Allen wants us to send some, and Aaron Judge wants us to send some to his baseball camp, right? That's pretty cool. So I have a lot of fun being part of that team. And then directly, it's tying myself and about 5 other people that help run the business. Right now, we're about to hire another 5 so that we can grow quicker. But being part of the team, it gives my life meaning and purpose in setting a goal, right, for growth every year and quarterly and yearly and creating new products. Because I like to think I like creating the new products. So that's why we don't have a cereal yet, because they all sucked. But eventually we'll have a delicious tasting cereal with the proper healthy ingredients, and we'll come out with that. So I love being part of the team, I love being part of the process, and I love having goals. And I think most people derive a lot of happiness from working towards something. I was retired 3 or 4 times. I was retired at 36 years old. I never had to work again for the rest of my life at 36. I got bored. I was playing chess at like 2 p.m. on my computer. And I like chess, but what am I doing? Like I'm doing nothing. I lost meaning and purpose. And so whether that's philanthropic, like my buddy Steve was a partner for a big time financial company in New York, and he just retired, he's my age. And I'm like, are you sure you want to retire? I mean, you're gonna get bored, you're still young, you still have a lot of years left. And then I found out he completely took over this foundation that tries to promote and help aspiring artists, singer-songwriters, become recognized and to develop them and help them throughout their career. So he's running a whole foundation. So he's not retired, he just changed working for his financial institution and working for a charity. But anyway, I think whatever it is, being a parent, being a husband or a wife, working for a business, working for a charity, having goals and working towards them with other people, what does that sound like? It sounds like football, right? It's like working with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, all who have different jobs. They're working together selflessly to be part of something bigger than themselves. That's the secret to happiness in life, and that's definitely the secret to success on the football field.
Well, I've got 2 more for you, just real quick, if that's okay. So Thrivent is all about helping people live generously, empowering people to live lives full of meaning and gratitude, making the most of all that you've been given. And I just want to ask, what advice do you have for our Thrivent clients, for this audience, about finding ways to give back, even if they don't have a platform like yours?
Yeah, go back in time 5 years ago and put everything on NVIDIA. And then give half of that away to whoever you want. No. Okay, I'll answer your question in a riddle and see if I can remember it, and you all know the answer to it already. But what can we spend but we can't save? What can we use but we can't keep? And once it's gone, you don't get it back. Time we can give. We can give. We can help organize bags at the shelter, right? We can go and volunteer to deliver bags of fun to the Children's Hospital to kids who are in critical care so that they have games and video games and things to play. We can volunteer our services. We have volunteers at our football camps. We've had volunteers, I don't know if you're going to bring this up, but we did a Dare to Play football camp. Our Dare to Play football camp we did for 10 years. It ended when COVID hit. Maybe we'll bring it back, but it was for children and young adults with Down syndrome. And someone came up to me and said, hey, can we do a camp for kids with Down syndrome? And I thought, why not? I don't understand why we wouldn't be able to do a football camp for kids with Down syndrome or young adults. And I can't tell you how many parents I saw crying in the stands because their child had never had the opportunity to play football. They'd watched it on television and they had the shirts and hats and wristbands and they were ready to go and the gloves, but there was no organized football for kids with Down syndrome. And it's hard to be a parent of a child with Down syndrome. It's very demanding. And they were crying. They were so happy. I'm like, wow, it made that much of a difference just to do this football camp? I didn't know even when I agreed to do it that it would be that meaningful to them. But we must have had 25, 30 volunteers to help run that camp. And everyone played a part, from setting up the food vendors to handing out waters in the stands to helping organize the t-shirts. There's a million things to do. So my answer would be, you don't need a dime to make a big difference by giving your time.
Last one for me is, what is next for Ed McCaffrey? Any projects, goals, dreams? What are you chasing? Whether football, business, philanthropy, what are you chasing after right now?
Kind of all of the above. I try to be a good husband. One of the things I've learned over the years, because I was always ultra competitive with everything, it's like, learn what game you're playing. What game are you playing? Right? So I don't have to beat Lisa in Monopoly. That usually doesn't end well. Right? So maybe my game that I'm playing is not to win the game of Monopoly. It's to really have fun playing the game regardless of who wins or loses. Sometimes I kind of secretly hope I lose. I really want to lose this game so somebody else is happier than me. Why? Because I don't care if I win or lose Monopoly. It's about being there and having fun and having good conversations and doing something together with the people that you love. Right? And so, I've learned that over the years as well. But, original question?
Yeah, what's next?
Oh, what's next? So that was just on my mind because we had a very interesting Monopoly game recently. But,
Monopoly.
Yeah.
Making condiments.
Has anyone finished that game and not gotten an argument with someone else who was playing? I don't know. In college, my roommates used to just tip the board over if they want to win. It was awful. Play 3 hours and then somebody tips the board over. But anyway, that's how competitive we were. So right now, I have the ability to set my own hours. I like being the boss. I'm not going to lie to you. I do like being able to make decisions. I feel confident in myself in terms of the direction of the businesses that I'm running. And then my wife and I get the freedom to travel and watch our kids play. So we got to go to 49ers games, Commanders games, Miami Dolphins games. Going to go to some Broncos games. We usually have reunions every year at some point in alumni days. And so I got to figure that whole schedule out. I haven't done it yet, but I'll get to all those games. Got to watch all the film of those games. So I can do all of those things that I love. Because I thought about coaching in the NFL and certainly had the opportunity to do it. But if I did it, I'd never watch any of my kids play. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm 56. I'm not going to, I have 2 kids that are still playing in the NFL. I'm not going to not watch their games. I love watching their games. So I get my football fix by doing camps in the summer, watching all of their game film and going over with them if they ask. But I have fun doing that. But I also have fun being part of this team and business. So what I'm chasing right now, I want to grow our food products business because I want to provide, a whole bevy of healthy snacks and delicious condiments. So when you're at your tailgate at the football game or your barbecue in the backyard and you're putting, our spicy brown mustard on your brat or your hot dog or your hamburger, you're like, this is making my brat taste better, or my hamburger taste better, or my Impossible Burger taste better if you don't eat meat. But regardless, it's so small, but it brings a little bit of joy in people's lives, right? You like eating good food, good tasting food, better than bad tasting food. And also, with our healthy snacks, this is really important. It is so hard to make a healthy snack taste good. Do you know how hard that is? So I have more empathy for the people who have tried and failed. Whenever you've eaten a healthy protein bar or a healthy supplement and it tastes medicine or powdery or bitter, it's because it is not easy to make that taste good. You have to use a healthy form of sweetener, and you have to add just the right amounts, just the right amount of protein. And luckily, I think we hit a grand slam with our protein bites, so we're going to expand that line. But I do want to have a whole assortment of healthy foods. Why? Selfishly, I eat those foods. Like, I want something to eat other than a candy bar or junk food, because I tend to go to those things, because when I eat healthy food products, I don't like the taste, and then I'm not going to stick with that. I'm not going to keep eating them. Eventually, I'm going to say, okay, I'm not eating that anymore. I'm going to go for the good tasting stuff. So one of my goals in life is to create a lot of different super healthy, great tasting snacks for people, right? And so that's one of my goals. And we're having fun doing it, and the pipeline will take 10 years to build this thing out. In the meantime, I get to work with other wonderful people and be part of something kind of great and have goals that I'm working towards.
And still chase those kids around and watch them play.
Still get to watch them play games. Now I can be a dad. I'm not coaching them either. I'm dad full time. And even when I'm giving them constructive criticism, it's only if they've asked me. And so it's usually received a little bit better. But yeah, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to be doing with my life. So I'm having fun, and so far so good. With that being said, every other day there's a fire put out, or some kind of adversity, or something difficult happened with one of my kids. But I appreciate the good times. I appreciate the bad times, and I try to, as much as possible, appreciate the people that I'm with in that moment.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for your time today. And I want to ask you one favor as we leave. Can we get a Mile High salute from you as we...
You guys ready? Stand up, stand up, stand up. Okay, we ready?
Yes, I love it. Thank you.
2004, 1976, 2004, and 2016. If I'm not mistaken, 2012 was Kobe Bryant. That over. I should tell you who's on it.
Yeah, you just have to know those teams, I guess.
Like, let's just London Men's Olympics. So that's. Might have been Kobe.
His name's probably on there somewhere if that is. I suppose they don't have like the dream team. 92.
That was it. Signed helmet. Signed skate.
That's really cool. I like their shoes.
Oh my goodness. That was from last year.
Yeah?
And so. 6th career gold medal.
Sick.
Not that good.
I can probably start wherever you wanted.
I tell you, I had to.
Wait, we're in the suit?
So, by about 5.5 feet.
Oh, yeah.
I told them at the 2 here.
That's like the 8.5 actually.
I was gonna fall.
I thought you were too.
That was fun.
Wearing these shoes.
Yeah, I was like, oh. Little goalie mask. Those are like scary. That's like something out of a horror movie.
Jason. Something.
Get
It's
up,
bobsled
Jamaica.
time.
It's bobsled time.
Yeah, there you go.
Runnings. Wow.
32.
That's some old school like marketing graphics for me.
Unich Massacre.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's Nazi Germany.
Human Rights takes the podium.
Mm-hmm. Guess we all know. So many movies.
The medals.
Holy cow.
Paralympic medals. From Tokyo.
These are really cool medals.
Yeah. That's all the things. 1983.
Nice.
American Gold is what that one's called.
I like that one. That was cool.
That's really cool. Wow.
Some good artwork.
Grab the card
I
guys.
wonder how they got them.
Athens, 1896. Paris, 1900. Wow, these are cool.
They're so tiny.
Right, those are little babies. Imagine me, I think I won gold, guys. It's a little quarter.
Like I've got change in my pocket bigger than that. Holy cow.
I didn't get to that big.
It's like you can hurt someone with that one. Like, jeez.
Good enough.
What if
I
there was
can
like
always do the new ones.
a gold, like a mineral shortage those years? Like, yeah, we don't got a lot of minerals that we can make stuff with. That kind of hurt.
Well, that looks cool though. It would hurt.
Looks cool. Like, I cut myself on my metal, man.
Caught from Los Angeles. Ooh, these are sweet. Thanks, Joe. Albertville, 1992.
I have no idea where Albertville is.
It's
Pistol band.
Yeah, that's sweet. Ooh, look at that one.
Oh, from Nagano.
Yeah, that's cool. The gold's amazing.
That is. Imagine just having one of these like chilling up in your home. We just got finished at the Thrivent membership celebration. Guest speaker Eddie Mack, legendary wide receiver for the Denver Broncos as well as Niners, mostly the Broncos. And then we got a tour of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum afterward, which is a really, really cool thing. I just wish we got video of us racing against Jesse Owens. That would have been cool. See how bad we got torched. But a lot of fun. What'd you think?
I loved it personally. Second celebrity I've met in person. Eddie Mack is a great speaker. He's a great guy. I don't know. The tour was really good. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. No bad things from me.
Hey, see ya.
Have a good night. Of course. Thank you for inviting us.
I don't know. It's good overall. Fun time. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool museum. Awesome speaker.
Oh yeah.
All around good event.
Good advice. Good parenting advice.
Oh yeah.
Football advice. Good guy.
So cool.
Really cool.
We'll just wrap it up here, and I don't know. I'm still a little hungry. How about you?
A little bit.
So yeah, we'll see if Mom wants anything too. But we'll figure something out. But deuces.